screen. So they have I'm trying the web one. They have like a web one where you can share your screen and it starts working. Although half of the time I recorded one the other day and I talked for like 20 minutes on pointers and arrays and realized that it picked the wrong mic. So I was like, yeah, I was like, screw it. I'm not going to do that. Yeah. But yeah, this pot here, right there. Yeah, that's from my parents' house. It was an old sauce pot. Like it is covered in lime scale, which I think it's aluminum, but I do have a stainless steel one that's bigger that I use for canning. So, but cowboy candy. Candy and pickled. Whoa. Yeah, that's. I mean, that sounds like my jelly. Like my jelly is 4 to 6 cups of sugar for, you know, a few cups of flavor. Yeah. Yeah, I'm drying apples right now. Well, amazingly, like I'm not sure the exact calorie ratio of a normal apple to a dried apple, but I know it loses something. But I can eat 10 apples worth of apples in minutes if they're dried. Whereas if I ate 10 apples, my stomach would hurt. Amazingly. Well, it cooks them a little bit. So I was trying to figure out topics to talk about. So did you see the NPD breach? You hear about that one? So apparently they had, I guess you could go with rows, right? Billions of rows on Americans, Canadians, um, British people, um, social security numbers, addresses. Like it's something you would NPD would like go and do I think background checks or something to that effect. And apparently they had a server that the company set up, like they hired some Indian company or whatever, some offshore company. And it they had put the usernames and passwords in plain text in a text file on the website for a demo site and then didn't take it down. Didn't change the passwords. Yeah. Yep. Well, you I think you're supposed to pay for it. They do have addresses of me and a social security number that ends in the right 2 digits. I don't know if you I can send you a Oh, yeah, it's, not good. Yeah, I checked mine and it's in there, which well, unfortunately, they probably are associated. Yeah, apparently this has been a thing, and I see several of them of my, yeah, I'm not. But see, they have in here my address from when I was in college at UNK. So they have the one from when I was a kid. So my parents used to be on a rural route mail address. That changed. I don't know how many years ago, probably 15 at least. So they have my original address. They have the new address. They have my address from when I was in Kearney. So I left in 2003. So 21 years ago. They do have my current address. Yep. Yeah. Well, and you can your name is a little unique, so it's as opposed to somebody who has a first name in the top 10 names and a last name in the top 10 names. Oh, well, it is unfortunate, but well, and I mean, so the one, I mean, I'm in healthcare, right? So like the one that is like super scary slash interesting is like your genetic data, right? Like literally there is nothing you can do to change that. Like once it's out. So I actually in Kearney, I went to the library and um there's apparently a like I don't think it was NIH, but through the federal government, there was a program where they'll give you like you do these tests and they'll give you like $25 and then info about like diseases and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not down with that yet. Like I just well, and if it's $25, that means that data is worth more than $25 to them. Which is Yeah, well, and some data is worth more than other data, right? Like, if I could I mean, which company was it? Cox or one of the cable providers was talking about how um they had basically made deals with smart devices. Don't know which one. I'm guessing a smart TV, but where they like you didn't type it into a computer and it sort of funnels into that like they're always listening to me. And it was, right? Like it's in the TOS that it's listening to you and it's like I people just don't want that. Nobody. Like I know there is one guy that I've heard of that like reads well, the lawyers are at the TOS. But like yeah, most people, you're right. Like we don't read TOS. Well, and I just so I have a smart TV. Right? It's in my basement. Like the only time we go down there is to either take a nap or watch TV, right? So it's not like we're not living in that living room, that area. And like I actually hate now the software that so it's got the Fire TV, Fire well like yeah, I have to go and disable like there's a menu for Freevee. If I disable it, like I can turn off the channels while the TV is on and then it'll be faster. 100%. There is no option in the UI to uninstall Freebie, like not at all. And it is like it's like the crapware that you used to have on Windows and then on your phone, and it's just like why can I not have like I get that you're trying to dominate the world, but like let me let me do the thing I want to do. It's just but see, I just don't even use Safari, so I'm like, eh. Like, whatever. Like, I literally never use Safari on my Mac. Like, it doesn't. The only time it opens is like some random search where like the OS is like, I'm gonna use the default thing. Like, but I also switched. So like I use Chrome to do all of my stuff, right? Everything I do. But I have my default browser set as Firefox so that like every time I click a thing, I like have to really think about do I want that open in Chrome? Because Chrome pretty much hates me at this point. Like it just eats my like I well that I mean that if you ever look at that, so like I will have Chrome restart and like it's like the tabs just keep growing in size of memory. Like if I took the URL, copied it, closed the tab, open a new tab, pasted it in, it would take up less memory. Like 100%. Well, I think it's like remembering stuff, but I think it leaks when it restarts. Like it's like, "Oh, I gotta like copy all of this," and it's just. I mean, I really need to close a bunch of tabs. Like that's. I have. First step is admitting that you have a problem. I don't even know how many tabs I have open. Like I have 20 windows at least, and they don't have just one tab. Yes, yes, it is. Well, but you also gotta like, I mean, I run Docker containers and I do stuff. So like I gotta have some overhead. And honestly, I wish my battery life were better, but it's not. Like, when I bought my MacBook new, I would literally see it say like 19, 22 hours battery life. Like it literally never says that. It says, 5, 6, 7, if I'm lucky, on a full charge. So are you running on Windows? So, hmm. Well, but I still like the paths in it are just, oh. I mean, honestly, right? If you really love the Unix environment, like a Mac is like the winner. Like I can't I c- yeah, so my file system, right? So yeah, it stuff doesn't live in slash home, but like it's in slash users. Like everything else is mostly the same, but like my UI doesn't look like trash, which is what Linux, right? And like all of my command line tools work. Some of them have a few tweaks, like your disk free. For some reason, they decided they're just going to use different arguments. I'm like, whatever. Like that's dumb, but whatever. Um, said I think is slightly different because of the wave, but like otherwise, it's like in my VS Code, me using the terrible thing, like the remote SSH, like I can literally log onto a server and be editing it just like it was sitting on my disk. Like basically, like when you get a 12 gig file, it is worse because it's going over the network. But every other time, it's like, well, every text file that I'm editing, because I'm editing Python, is super easy. Works really well. Oh yeah. That's why I have I can't. I mean, I know the either the old people or the young people will laugh at me for playing Fortnite, but I play Fortnite with my kids. And yeah, I can't. I tried it. So like Amazon has Luna. Tried that. It is garbage on a Mac. Like it's just like maybe I'm spoiled like using my razor. Like I'm used to the mouse and the keyboard and I'm used to what the latency is, and I will do it on something else and I'll just be like, "Oh my gosh, the latency is killing me." Like, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's Fortnite, of course, they want everybody to be there, but they have to balance the the power of the keyboard and the mouse versus the lack thereof on a console, right? And so you got yep. Yep. But I mean, it doesn't make me a better like I'm a better gamer when I have low latency, but I'm not a good gamer. Like I can get kills, but I'm not Well, also, if you look at your top, let's say Fortnite players, right? Like they are all, I think the peak is like 21, 22, and that's your peak like reaction time. Like you're getting skill as you go through, but after you hit that, right, you start like falling off the edge as far as your reaction time starts. True, true. You're not lying there. Yeah, every day, I'm a little part of me goes, "Ow, this hurts." Like my hip hurts. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, but see, you know, I am the oldest in the house, but I can get ready the fastest because I'm like, I don't have all this prim frou frou stuff. Like I can get ready in 15 minutes, whereas everybody else in my house is like 30 minutes plus. I'm like, okay, you guys are. Well, I gotta say, like, the one thing I did notice, like, not that my hygiene is bad, but like I have a hard time just remembering to brush my teeth. Like when I used to go to work, right, it was like part of my routine. Like, okay, if I need to, I'm going to take a shower, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to get changed. And then when I work from home, it's like, well, I don't have to do all those things. So all your classes. So how many classes do you have left for a master's, right? Mm. I took, I think I took 3.5 or 4 to get my master's, but I also had kids, so yeah. I mean, I had, I knew about HTML, but until I started working at a security company, I was like, I didn't realize it was just like text. Like you have headers and they literally have new lines, and then you have a double new line for data. And I'm like, really? That's what the I thought this was like 2 levels of more better than that. And it's like, nope, nope, that's web. So you're learning about secure web app development? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot. Like I have in Phillips, Nebraska, I have some family, and I remember they were like, so they have a new combine, right? Because they can, right? And like it had an iPad to that has the data about like how many bushels are you getting at like at this exact time in this exact piece of the field. And they sort of struggled with, oh, there was an issue or an update with the iPad, and they're like, well, how am I gonna deal with this? Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I watch WAN Show, which they talk about that. I've seen that John Deere is very much fighting it. Well, but like, okay, I think there's more than two facets to this, right? So one is if that piece of equipment is leased through John Deere or a John Deere authorized retailer, like I understand that. I mean, so that's one thing, right? So and John Deere should be able to limit that, but also John Deere has written a lot of software, I'm guessing, right, to control aspects of their tractor. Like it's really not that much far removed from like, is that thing, I mean, they have a patent, they have a copyright, they have a intellectual property evaluation of it, right? And I understand why they don't want people to just tear it apart and be able to disseminate it publicly, right? And I've a long time I've thought about, what is the difference between a tractor and a computer? Because a tractor, a piece of machinery, right, has some function where you provide it with input power, right? And it does a thing. Like it does a mechanical operation. And a computer is basically the same thing. Like you provide it with power, right? And inputs, and it is a machine, right? It does a thing. Now it is on a minuscule scale. Like if you ever want to see how significant you are, like I change bits and the bits are like this big. All of the bits that I change are this big, you know. Well, and I mean a tractor is kind of general, right? Like yeah, I can computer on a farm or in space, right? It's like it does both. A tractor only goes on. Well, that's true, but there are more airplanes in the ocean than there are submarines in the sky. So, well, so from your perspective, like the right to repair, like do you see that? Well, I mean, I grew up with tractors from probably the 50s, 60s, 70s, right? Like they definitely weren't new. Um, yeah, and even the ones in the 90s were mostly mechanical, right? Like the computer piece was a lot of times separate. Well, and that's probably a function of like how many dollars per acre can you make versus a guy sitting in the middle of Kearney, Nebraska with irrigated ground. Like those are two different. Yep. Yeah. But like do you see do are they like that that would be interesting. Like are most of them upset about the right to repair? Like that they have to go to a John Deere dealership or a certified John Deere repairman? I don't know. Uh, Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you got a tractor from the 70s, you will fix that yourself. Like that's I mean, you can like my dad, well, depends. Like is that your my dad almost always, major repairs, he would have somebody do them, right? Like he didn't know enough to know what he was. Like, I know, for example, I know all the parts that go in an engine, but I can't tell you if that part is worn or not worn, or, I don't have that knowledge, right? Because I haven't done that. I think he had the same sort of feeling, right? Like, I can pay somebody to do that, where my core competency is being a farmer and being able to do those things. Um, so I think, yeah, it depends on the farmer, but like, yeah, if something needed welding, right? We'd probably do that, but if it was core to, like, my engine is not running, well, that would be something else. And I think your big operations, right, they have clearly the money to, like, you've gotta have the money to be able to buy the thing. You also probably have enough money, and you can write it off to be able to pay somebody to repair it, whether or not it's your local, you know, farm repair, farm equipment salesperson, or, you know, John Deere Tech. Well, that's why you lease a that's that's one reason people lease, right? Is like I can be like, I don't have to worry about that, and if it, the engine blows up because I was pushing it too hard, well, that's on John Deere, not on me. It's a different risk. Well, and I watch lots of YouTube videos, and there's a guy talking about how he would run. It was similar to a skid steer, some sort of machine. And he's like, people are like, "Why don't you do it by the hour?" And he's like, "I make more money if I say a minimum." Like, because some of those jobs only going to take him, 20 minutes or whatever it is. He has to put a minimum, and he's making decent money doing that, right? Being as if you have a minimum. But like you said, right? Like when you give something to somebody else, guess what? There are idiots out there, and 100%, 100%. I've seen way too many YouTube videos on people misusing things. Or I can take my, backhoe, and I can cross a creek with it without having to get, where I am watching a different YouTube than you are. Holy cow, like, oh, man. Oh, man, it's like there's, like, people do souped up, what is it? Like, swamp buggies or something in the middle of Florida, and it's like, I had no idea. Like, I mean, this is awesome. I wouldn't be caught dead doing it, but, like, more. Yep. Well, and I have a chainsaw, right? I use earplugs all the time when I do that because yeah. Well, I do appreciate that. So my son has done um sport shooting. Gosh, I'm trying to there's a name for no, it's yeah, shooting sports. And so they'll do trap and skeet and all of this. And like that 100% is the requirement. Like they have to wear hearing protection and they have to wear safety glasses, and you also have to not have your gun loaded unless you are um like you if you are next, you can have it in the I'm not a gun person. You can have it in the barrel, but you can't have it loaded. Like, if it's a shotgun that you break. Yep. 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 And I appreciate that they're looking out for those kids being able to, you know, that yep. Yeah. I mean, target, right? So it doesn't have to be something you want to kill, but like that gun should never be loaded, right? If you're not intending to shoot a target. Yep. It's you should and you should assume that it is not, right? And I Keegan had a safety officer. He said, gun accidents don't happen, right? The physical safety is not a safety. The safety is the person operating the gun. And 100%, understanding, you know, where your target is, where you've got that gun pointed, what's downrange beyond your target, which I also thought was really good. We were shooting at a range, but like literally we were in the country and somebody could just walk through the end of your range. And if you're not paying attention, right? So I think there's a lot of good things that you can teach kids. Trust but verify, as Reagan said. Yeah. Yep. All right. Yep. That's well. You know what? Sometime you should teach me because I think I could learn from you on this AI stuff. So machine learning. I would love to listen to you give presentations. So yeah. Well, so I understand, right, that you have a like a neuron and it sort of takes sort of multiple you're showing here like inputs. Yeah. But like multiple neurons are connected. Yeah. Yeah, once it gets above that, right, it's gonna fire. But is so I guess my question is like in I mean, philosophically, like in an actual neuron, like is it so binary? Like is it so like is is like, are two weights on one input, are on two different inputs, right? Like, okay, if both of these sort of contribute to that, like, so they both have to be high. Like, I just wonder on that, like, how accurate we're representing that process. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Like, if you get the one coming in and the other coming in, if they hit at the same time, then it hmm, I find it fascinating. Like, I well, it's been invented, like, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel when, nature spent how many, millions years doing that? Like, do you know that there's an emulator for nematodes? Like, 100%, like, is that thing alive? Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, they're basically looking at the relative position of themselves to all of the one like, that's all a bird is perceiving is, like, I am too close or not close enough to this next bird, and so I'm either gonna slow down or speed up or change direction. Yeah, but that's their only thing, right? That like, I'm a bird, I need to learn how to fly, like, it's like breathing, like, they just yeah. Well, maybe next time when we get the atomator on, we can, like, cause I would love to be able to train models, but I get to a point where I get frustrated with it, and I don't know the things that I don't know to get it to well, I get annoyed because there's PyTorch and then there's Hugging Face, and it's like, okay, which one should I don't know. Yep, sklearn, yeah, scikit-learn. You're putting it in a PDF? Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, your training and your Yep. Yep. Well, like, I mean, so what I'm looking at is like I have, people type in diseases or diagnoses, right? Like, what I want to be able to do is say, okay, I'm given a small blurb of text. I need to figure out which diseases this person has and at what age they were diagnosed. And I, I, f- I just struggle at knowing the things that I need to know. Like, I'm trying, okay, well, what if I just start with the text? Like, you know, atrial fibrillation at 47. Like, how can I, like, so I know I need to tokenize it. I know that, right, you got, I mean, Hugging Face has a bunch of different things. It's got some stuff. Yeah. See, you're gonna have to just teach me. Like, I'm gonna have to learn. See, you we if you Chris, if you need real world examples, I am here to help. Well, and F I mean, one big thing on that, I know you're probably about out of time, but like, understanding, the sort of research mill that is academia, like I think that's something I didn't quite appreciate. And I am like you. I like doing research, but I do not like writing. That's just my I would not like writing papers. Like, I like doing the technical stuff, but like, it's just not my I'm bad at spelling. Dyslexic. Like, it's just hard for me. It's hard for me to read. Well, Dvorak and dyslexia are like it. I 100% I run up against a hard limit on my typing speed because I can't spell. Like, I cannot type faster than, I don't know what it is, like 40 or 50 words a minute, because I my brain cannot produce the letters fast enough for my fingers to type them, like 100%. But yeah, but writing a grant proposal is really not that much different than writing a paper, right? Like, you're doing, like, the format's different and the amount of XYZ is different, but it's the same sort of premise of, okay, here's a problem, here is some background information, here is how we think we can solve it, here's what's gonna be the benefit. Like, when you see them, right, it's not that hard. It's just gigantic as far as like word count and pages and things like that. But anyway, well, see, this is great. Like, we don't need stinking Adam. We can do this all by ourselves. Well, there's that. All right. Well, thank